Welcome back to the U45 Morning Show, broadcasting live from Lagos. We are currently at the peak of this conversation, so we're going to be engaging you at home, and of course our guest in the studio, who is actually a psychologist, is going to be taking us through the pain and the gain of crisis in the whole. However, let's get to meet him. He is Tosin Imohemi. Some people call him Mr. T.I., and others call him the pain doctor. Well, we'll find out as we get this conversation going. It's good to have you join us in the studio.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Good morning, welcome.
Thank you.
So in the midst of these troubled times, just first of all, your thought about COVID-19 from a global perspective. What has it been? How do you evaluate it? Government intervention, just name it. An overview.
Okay. There's a quote by Abraham Lincoln that says, we can either complain that roses have thorns, or we can rejoice that thorns have roses. Personally, I'm an optimist, so I choose to look at the positive side of everything that happens. And so far, so good. Of course, it's not been easy. However, like I said, I've chosen to focus on the the positive, angle. And I often tell people that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. As long as your life is no bed of roses, we're always going to go through one pain or one challenge or one circumstance. That's why the fact that I'm looking really handsome, I'm sure.
I have my pain.
There's a pain somewhere,
likewise,
So it's natural, and Plato says that it's only the dead that have seen the end of war, meaning that life is the battlefield, this battlefront, the war front. We're going to have so many challenges. And you see, this COVID-19 is not the first of its kind. We've had Ebola. In fact, there's, the coronaviruses, they're actually, yeah, so COVID-19 is just one of them. We've had Ebola, we had cholera, we had Spanish flu and all that. This has claimed lives over time. So we can't change it. We can't change it. Victor Frankl, a psychologist, once said, when we're unable to change the circumstance or change the situation, then we must change ourselves. We can't change it. We're trying to find a vaccine. The world now, we've stepped up to looking for a vaccine. But while we're doing that, let's try to adapt, change ourselves. So, reviewing the situation, because Dr. Wayne Dyer once said that when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at, they tend to change. So, looking at it, changing the perspective, ever since we had COVID-19, this crisis has forced development, even in our nation and all over the world. Now, students are taking classes online. I've heard when you said YX students and NECO they are beginning to plan how they're going to take their exams online. Do you understand? There's been the health sector, they're now investing more in our health sector. Do you understand? So there's so much. People are practicing social distancing. People are going online to have their meetings. Businesses are beginning to tap onto the online, the ICT and all that. So there's development. Personally, it forces you to also grow. It forces you to grow. There's a saying that recession restores resourcefulness. Personally, we're becoming resourceful now. Someone asked me so recently that perhaps why I'm faring well at this point in time is because I have enough to eat and all that. And I said, it's not exactly so. But I understand how the mind works. It's not your situation that makes you suffer. It's your mind that makes you suffer. So if you can remain calm and look for areas how you can improve, adapt, then I think you will do very well. So there are positive angles. For example, like I mentioned, crisis forces development. Crisis helps us grow personally. And you see, even the scripture says that if you faint in the day of adversity, then your strength is weak. And you will never know how strong you are until being strong is the only option you've got. For example, we're not used to wearing masks. We're not used to it. But now that there's danger out there, you have to adapt.
Yeah.
There are things you never really used to do before, but you have to adapt because the circumstances has forced you to
do that.
So that's development,
Okay.
So there's several other areas, positive ways to look at it. We are also reflecting on our lives because life is not about longevity, but how well we live.
So one key thing I picked out there is that Nigeria is set, or we should get ready for a digital economy because a lot of things are changing. So I'd like to know from your view, how well do you think the government have actually managed this lockdown and coronavirus as a whole both from the federal government and also on the state level?
Well, to be candid, our government we've been reactive rather than proactive.
Okay, so
because the very first case we had, the government they ought to put in some measures to ensure that we curb the situation, but they were reactive. However, like I said, certain times when you go through challenges, you are forced, whether you like it or not, to take certain measures because when your life is at stake, you do the needful. And we've had people at the helm of affairs, like we have Bakari died
yes,
a few days ago, and we've had people infected and all that. So they have no choice than to do the needful. So it's really going to force them to do the needful. Like I said, the health sector now has been very well, that they're actually investing more in the next health sector. So the preventive measures, they're actually thinking. They're thinking now, because now if care is not taken, logically, if you look at the statistics, how the rate at which the confirmed cases are increasing, logically you would think that the world is coming to an end or Nigeria is about to become wiped out. But by faith, we know that we are more than conquerors. Of course, we know. And we also, yes, by faith, because if you can't...
So the God factor must be brought into fore.
No one can contest that, of course. The God factor, we are leaning on God now, because the truth is, God can do more for us in a minute than we can possibly do for ourselves in a lifetime. People are praying. People no longer... Sincerely, no one alive has ever experienced such a pandemic. Churches are being shut down, mosques, you understand, cinemas, places where people converge together. So even our spiritual, religious leaders, of course, they are praying. They are praying more now because they're not used to this situation.
T, I saw something, and it's written the reverse. It's like, now the birds are not in the cage; they are flying in the sky, and humans are in the cage. Very. So I'm like, it's true. The birds are flying. Yeah. Even though some people said 5G is killing some of them. But let's take this conversation to, let's look at human aspect of it in terms of adhering to guidelines. The first 14 days came when the president made that pronouncement. People, before he knew it, the second one got into it as well. And now we're tilting towards the end of the second 14 days. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen. How would you say Nigerians... Are
you sure you don't know what's going to happen?
No, we have to wait for a formal statement. Anyways, while we take this conversation forward here in the studio, please let us know what you think should be done. Should government step up the measures that they have to, in order to get the conditional cash transfer to you, get food to your home, so you can stay and wait for the measures to be taken from the health side? Plus or minus if we're going to get a vaccine, or we should start wearing nose masks, get our sanitizers, get headgears, and go about our business. Which one do you think? Because the pressure is coming to the government. People are saying we can't stay anymore. What exactly would you prefer? So the phone lines are open. Let's start this conversation even from now before we start putting up other questions in the front burner. Okay. Please go ahead.
So I want us to come back to emotional, psychological effects of COVID-19 on humans. Okay, this we've heard of self-isolation, we've heard of quarantine, we've heard of what's the last one? Social distancing. And these have been used interchangeably. So how can we use these phrases in a light-hearted note? How can we use in a light-hearted note? The social distancing, self-isolation, quarantine, all those words are enough to actually make you, oh my God. So how can we use it in a light-hearted note? Yeah,
like recently I was speaking with a friend and I told him the fact that that statistics you usually get from NCDC, it's hard, but it can be put in a more appropriate way. For example, you say confirmed cases about 782, and then you put discharge, and then you put death. You're not telling us the percentage of those who've recovered. When I did my own math, I discovered that over 80% of people, of those who are actually infected by the virus, recover, which is good news.
So that should be put in the front.
That should be put. Okay, let me give you a more apt example. There's something called the power of words. In California, there's a school that actually changed the grade system. Now, in the report card, they put either pass, or rather than fail, they put not yet. Now, this changes your perception. When you discover that, okay, you passed, or
You're not,
Not yet.
Not yet.
It doesn't tell you you're a failure. What it tells you is that
can do
you're on a
better.
learning curve.
But here in
You need to
Africa
put
and
in
Nigeria, they
more.
use red pen
Fail with red pen.
to show that it's a danger.
Yes, so psychologically,
Okay.
that would even do you more harm than the facts, the statistics, or the facts. So, I think that we should just. I think some celebrities are beginning to come out to educate the citizens, tell them that this is not a death sentence. All the social distancing and all are just preventive measures to enable you recover. It's not a death sentence.
Okay.
So I would implore the government to try as much as possible to try to work on educating citizens and all this terms, social distancing and all that. Of course, you can't have a negative.
Let me take you on that quickly. What would you say has been the level of engagement, sensitization from government? The National Orientation Agency, I don't know if it has been scrapped by this particular administration. I don't see anything from them. Normally, they are the ones that engage the media in disseminating information. Now, we know there is a restructuring from the government, and of course, you have Minister of Information and Culture put together XYZ. But to what extent would you say government has really informed the citizens?
Well, I'll say they can improve. That's what I'll say. Because personally, I think we should all take personal responsibility and not just leave it to the government. The government has of course, they ought to be at the forefront. But we should take personal responsibility. Like, for example, this program is an effort to sensitize the citizens.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the government should do more and more because people are really freaking out. People are being locked down. I tell people, don't use the word lockdown. You're keeping safe. There's a difference.
Okay, so
Very
we
important.
should that's part of what she's trying to
Yes,
find out when
yes.
she
Very
said
important.
quarantine, isolation.
You're merely keeping
and-
safe. I run a prison ministry. And I know for a fact how prisoners feel. They are the ones locked down. They cannot move. But despite going to the prisons to educate them, and they're usually full of life, they appreciate their circumstance. They look for the positive in their situation. So how about we're not locked down. We're mainly keeping safe. We can move around. We can call friends. We can take a stroll. When this lockdown started, I was jogging because I used to have a problem with my weight.
Okay.
So I said, okay, this is an opportunity for me to even jog.
Yeah,
every
burn some
day.
of those
I
calories.
think you've burned some calories.
So I saw the opportunity. However, when the insecurity issues came up, and I also heard that people were being arrested, and I decided to stay home and then just do aerobics in my
Yeah,
vicinity.
we're going to even get to
Do
that.
you understand? So I think they can improve.
Okay,
They can improve.
All right.
I want to be constructive. They should improve.
prove. All right.
Rather than condemn, we should just give them the
Okay, so let's get this conversation forward. We'll be taking some few words from popular people. Yeah. So the very first one is Nigeria's
chief.
chief, Obafemi Awolowo. He said the pursuit of wealth is not bad. It's not a bad thing in itself, because without food and comforts, which wealth provides, life will be penurious and drab. But always remember that any wealth accumulated on a selfish basis at the expense of the state in defiance of social justice helps to create disorganized society in which everybody will eat everybody,
Wow.
and no one person can be saved. Let's quickly come to 1 million boys that you popular. I don't know if you heard about that term.
1 million boys and girls. I heard girls.
Oh,
are
there
also
is even
bad.
girls.
Yes.
So does this statement capture the situation we find ourselves, where it has moved from the fear of the virus to the fear of hunger, now to hitting the street and cutting away people's property with targets to food?
Well, I think that we've always had our challenges as a nation, and insecurity has always been at the forefront. We've had Boko Haram issues and all that, and these 1 million boys, we've heard of them even before this pandemic. But now also they are seeing it as an opportunity to cause more havoc on citizens. So that's why I said it's an opportunity for people to grow and the government to grow. So now the government needs to tackle these insecurity issues. This is no longer Boko Haram. These are just teenagers that are causing more panic. And while citizens are home, keeping safe,
not locked down.
I also do vigilante. Can you imagine? Because for example, I've been trying to make the most of this period. So what I do is during the midnight, because there's always lights, there's always electricity during the midnight.
Oh, so you're giving a thumbs up to PATN?
I'm not saying I'm giving a thumbs up to PATN.
Because
What
we're
I'm
going to
saying
discuss
is,
power too.
Yeah, power is not at its best. However, I'm also trying to adapt. I'm trying to, you know, adjust to the situation. So I know during the day, I do not really have power, but at night, there's always power. So what I do is I sleep during the day. I try as much as to have enough sleep during the day. And then at night, I take courses to develop myself. Because after this pandemic, man, there'll be a whole lot of competition at the marketplace. However, with the insecurity issues now, I cannot do my online courses. Do you understand? It's taking my time. So I have to be out there, you know, with a cutlass or with a weapon, trying to
protect your neighborhood,
and all that. So I think the government should also look into this area. However, the case of this 1 million bus is just a product of poor parenting.
Okay.
These kids they have fathers and mothers, and you know, but how did they become miscreants? How did they become thugs? How did they become? These are things we need to look into. Charity begins at home, and if we need to do our investigation, it begins from the family setting.
Okay.
Not catering for children well, not, we ought to have free education. We ought to have free education in our nation because, you see, it's an investment. It's not an expense, it's an investment because it will still rub off on the country.
Okay, so that means you've been able to justify what Obafemi Awolowo said, Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Now, let's take this next one. Now, Portuguese billionaire Antonio Pereira, the president of Santander Bank in Portugal, died due to corona infection. Now, his daughter wrote on social media, "We are a wealthy family, but my father passed away alone, suffocating, looking for something free, which is air. Money stayed at home."
Wow, that's deep.
How do you react to this?
Well, there's a saying that the best things in life are free, and I agree. Air, free. Water, even though some people sell it, it's a free resource to mankind. Do you understand? These are things that you cannot pay for, just like the air you breathe in when the air you breathe in. If you have to pay per minute or per second, do you know how much it will cost you? So I think that there are better things, there are much more important things than wealth. As a matter of fact, people who actually the elderly ones who are actually, you know, towards getting close to their, you know, their immune system not as strong as the youth, so they're more prone to, you know, getting, you know, dying from coronavirus. And I think that this is a wake-up call to even the Nigerian government and the movers and shakers of our country. It's not all about wealth. If Abakari could die from coronavirus despite the wealth and I'm sure the investment to ensure that he is preserved, and yet he dies, then there are more important things than wealth, money, and things that we actually should. That's why I said this is a very good time for reflection. And you see, you cannot see your reflection in running water. You can only see your reflection in still water.
Still water.
Now the world is still, and now we're reflecting on our lives. So what are the things that we ought to focus on? What should be your priority in life? If you have enough, you have more than enough to take care of yourself, then you should care for your neighbor. Because an injury to all, an injury to one is an injury to all. Like I said earlier, I was telling someone that if your neighbor is infected, you're not safe. No matter if you shot, no matter what, you're not safe. Because one way or the other, we are all connected as human beings. And you see, the world the world that was on the verge of war, countries fighting each other. Now we are all uniting because we are fighting a common enemy. Nothing bonds people, you know, as much as you fighting a common enemy.
Okay, so let's use this one now to establish this. So I want to believe Sandra will have something to say. Now, this is someone driving and it caught the action of some other persons using bike to take food from a vehicle. That could be played back so that you see it very well. Now, is this a desperate measure or survival ethic?
Well, you said it's just the same thing. This is desperation as well. It's trying to survive. Gone are those days where, you know, this kind of truck will be moving and you see food and you wouldn't just, you know, take it. You won't even, it won't occur to you that I should take food and all that. But now food.
And this is risky.
Yeah, it's risky,
Really
but
risky.
it's risky. But when you were at the face of death, you can do anything. That's why I said that you never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you've got. You adapt, you do anything. That is actually very risky, and he could have lost his life.
Okay.
But he's taking a chance because hunger is.
Okay, there again, I
serious.
want to go back to the security issues. We had a guest on the show that was on Monday, and he stated that trying to curb the insecurities that we're facing now is not just deploying more police officers or security agencies to curb down the attacks that's going on, but rather security is making sure that there's good education, making sure there's employment for the citizens, and a whole lot that he pointed out, because if everyone is engaged doing one thing or the other, they will be busy and nobody will be thinking about robbing the next person. So the government shouldn't just be having that at the mindset that security is just deploying officers everywhere.
Okay, so Sandra, I think our viewers are beginning to get involved in the process.
Yeah, you see, the problem we are facing today in terms of this psychological and emotional, I want to link it a little bit to this issue of 1 million boys. You see, our youth has not been actively engaged in this country due to bad leadership. And this is as a result of what our leaders created in this country. We have youth all over the world, but they are not threatening, they are not coming out to attack innocent people. Why? They were fully engaged before this issue of COVID-19 came out. So this is also a reflection of the society we have today. I can tell you that from my observation, some of these so-called 1 million boys are boys that have been used by politicians for election, and they felt that they are no longer engaged in the system, so they have to survive. So my own contribution is the government should try and see how they can engage the youth in one or two ways and stop using them for political gains, because this is the outcome of our nonsense that the leaders have been doing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Okay, so before you contribute, Sandra, I know you had a question you wanted. We're going to do one. Let's have what Lagos State government said. There is a plan to feed 100,000 youths daily. So, taking from what Samuel just said, what would you say psychologically? When I see something like that written and it's geared towards me, let's get from the psychological standpoint, how does it help calm the nerve of these young people? We're going to have that on the screen very soon. 100,000 people, 100,000 youths daily. First of all, so it's written, Lagos State youths will be fed daily. In a bid to ameliorate the effect of COVID-19, the Lagos State government has set up food kitchens across 57 LCDAs in the states to provide 1 meal a day. Let's take this.
I think that this is a reactive measure as opposed to being a proactive measure. You know, like he said, the truth is, what he said, I see some truth in it. And if the youth are actually been so active, like I said, an idle man is a devil's workshop. It's when you're idle and you really don't have anything doing that you begin to think of things, do you understand, frivolous activities and all that. So I think this is more of a reactive measure as opposed to a proactive measure, and it may not go well, because now if, for example, people are going to get food, you won't, it's natural because you've been hungry for so long. You won't be thinking of just getting your meal for that day. You'll be thinking of getting for a whole week. And this will also rob others of getting theirs. Do you understand? And I think, like I said, for everything that happens, either a blessing or a lesson. This may not be a blessing to Nigeria, but this is a lesson going forward that proper measures need to be put in place. Our youth need to be active. They need to be given jobs. You understand?
Empowered.
They need to really be empowered. So going forward, I think it will help us because it will change the way we think.
Okay, so there's this section that we always leave out, that's our children. We don't really pay much attention, and I really have them at heart. So I'd like you to educate us, how do we preserve the mental and emotional health of our children during this time?
Well, they would ask questions because now they've never had to stay at home as they do currently. And like I said, we all have personal responsibility. We have a part to play in the fight against this pandemic. And if, for example, because kids already know about this, a few weeks ago, I was on the TV with the Minister of Information, and then we spoke about this. And you see, these kids will ask, why am I at home? What's because most of them are already they're already mentioning coronavirus, this and that. Do you understand? So it's just, we need parents to be subtle in how they explain this pandemic to them.
Okay.
Do you understand? this is not a lockdown. This is this is vacation.
I like
Do you
that,
understand? I'm
keep
going to be spending time with you and all that. And it's what you tell them to believe. If you're really insistent and you show them, and of course fear is not, you don't have fear all over your face. You are responding positively. They'll take it, the way you give it to them. So it's just to engage them, make them. And I know students now are already taking classes online. So they are engaged, and this is a time for bonding. This is a bonding time, which is a very, very good way to look at it. For example, some days ago, a friend of mine told me that this pandemic has been a blessing to him. I asked why. He said, for the past 3 years, his daughter clocked 3 some days ago, and he said for the past 3 years, he has not had a bonding time. He has not really known his daughter. Do you understand? But being locked down,
Keep it safe.
keep it safe. That's the language they
Yeah,
understand. But
that's
for
the
me, with the language my system understands is keeping safe. However, so he has had to bond with his daughter. Now he knows her, and then he's found out to be.
So there's an emotional effect.
Yes, of course. So this is the time. A lot of parents, due to the hustle and bustle of our society, a lot of parents go out in the morning and come back at night. They really do not have that time with their kids.
Okay,
so this is the time for you to get to.
But to cut in, we've seen videos of couples fighting and all of that. Yes, we are still looking at the positive aspect of it. It's time to bond. And what do you think is the cause? People are together with their family and they're fighting. Is it because of the longer time they have to spend at home with their spouse?
No. There's actually an underlying problem. If you're having if you're having this amount of time to bond with your family, then there's always been an underlying problem that has never been tackled in previous time, because this is the time for you to, and it also boils down to emotional intelligence, you adapting to the situation. There's really nothing you can do. Do you understand? You have to manage yourself at this point in time. So if people are fighting, then they need to manage themselves. I don't think that's the government's. That's a government issue
No,
now.
not at all.
This is a personal issue.
Okay.
If, for example, you marry the wrong person, of course, this is a time that all that would come out in the open. So if you also have temperament issues, this is a time to resolve it. So we all have to live
So
with
the
ourselves.
good side is there. Anyways, let's quickly let's look at it from this one. Okay, so there is movement here. This is actually the Munshi movement. We have a few footage of this. Look at the number of people out there. Now, you've talked about a friend of yours that is actually bonding with the family. It's not because this particular friend of yours have something in the reserve. Someone that doesn't have even money to eat, what will be the essence of bonding? We're going to take this footage, then immediately we take the next one, which is actually the people that got money in the north. Now, government has made a pronouncement that there is a conditional cash transfer. Now, this woman here, look at her emotion, excitement. I had to get someone from the north to share a little bit of what she was saying. She's saying she's very happy that the president gave her money and gave her daughter. She's holding 20,000 naira in two sides, but in some quarters you have not seen.
Okay, let's take that call for Ikechukwu.
Okay.
Hello.
Good morning, Ikechukwu.
Good morning. My name is Ikechukwu.
Okay, go ahead.
Welcome, good morning.
I'm calling from Surulere.
Okay.
I want to ask a question.
Go ahead,
Those
Ikechukwu.
cases, they're confirmed. Is it house to houses, the house, or is it people working on the road? That's the question I want to ask.
Okay, hold on, Ikechukwu, if you can hear us, that didn't come clear. You said cases. We don't get. Are you trying to refer to the COVID-19 cases, or we don't get it clearly? Please take the question again.
I think cases. They said they have more. I don't know how many they mentioned today.
77.
Okay.
Is it house to houses they find out? People working on the road?
Okay, I think he's trying to refer to the number of COVID-19 cases actually, and even though it wasn't clear, any stats you see anywhere, if it is not bearing NCDC, it is not credible. Yes. So I would like to.
So that's what we have for today.
Yeah, so that is what you have. If you look at it, that is just 20. It's written 11:25 p.m. 22nd. So this was last night. So 74 in Lagos, 5 in Katsina, 4 in Ogun, 2 in Delta, 2 in Edo, 1 in Kwara, 1 in Oyo, 1 in Federal Capital Territory, and 1 in Adamawa. So if it doesn't have this look and feel, then, okay, this was like a few days before now. Let's use this to talk about the reason why people should stay more at home. COVID-19 case update, this is 117. This was 21st, day before yesterday. Looking at the statistics, are you beginning to nurse any fear beyond what it used to be before, vis-a-vis what is happening in other parts of the world?
It's natural. Of course, it's natural. You see, you have negative thoughts come out. You have negative thoughts. You have negative thoughts naturally.
Okay.
I can liken it to grass and flowers. No one plants weeds. You just see weeds
naturally grows.
Naturally. But flowers, someone has to plant them. It's a conscious and intentional effort. And this has to do with managing the mind. When you see things like this, the first emotion that comes to mind is fear. You're getting scared and begin to think about, hope this is not going to, hope this is the world is not coming to an end. Hope that I'm not going to be affected and all that. Like I said, for example, when I was coming for this interview, I thought about this.
You have to think twice.
I had to think twice because I've had interviews across different media stations, but I think this was the very first one I'm having. That I'm having to come to the stadium,
the
studios physically. So I thought about it. But then, like I said, there's a part of faith. I prayed about it. And of course, I handed myself over to God. And I know that also coming to contribute. I'm also coming to impact lives. Do you understand? So just like we had the health professionals, we also have
in the front line
hope that should keep inspired and keep giving people hope out there. So that's just the way I reviewed the situation, and then I came up.
Okay.
So I think for some people, because it can be difficult, you see, the mind cannot differentiate between what's real and what's not. Let me give you an example. When you're watching a movie, and then, for example, you're watching a horror movie, it makes you scared. Despite the fact that you know that this is not real, this is just a movie that was shot, it still gets you scared. Do you understand? Sometimes if you see blood or when you see them treating someone, you begin to freak out. So that's to tell you that your mind cannot differentiate between what's real and what's not. So if you know that you're someone who is susceptible to fear, and this boils down to self-awareness, knowing who you are. If you're someone who naturally freaks out, then you should not watch the news. You shouldn't be updating yourself with this information.
Let's hear Pascal from Ajegule. Pascal, good morning.
Hello?
Good morning, Pascal.
I'm not hearing you. But okay.
Morning, Pascal.
I want to speak on the same topic now. I want to speak to COVID-19. I want to speak on the 1 million point. I want to speak on that President Madia. Please, because it's a sad situation for the whole, the mind control task force. We say to Nigeria, at this old age, he does not know what healthcare in Nigeria is looking like. It's very sad. You see the problem.
Okay. So, Pascal, I think there is some interference there. You said you don't want to talk about COVID-19. I think you're tilting towards security. Please do call us again, but make sure you turn down the volume on your TV set so that we can hear you clearly, nice and slow, just like you want to converse with a friend. Do call us again. Okay, so.
Yeah, so I was saying, can you give us tips on how to manage our mental and emotional health during this crisis?
And like I said, I've said someone earlier, reviewing the situation, when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at, they change. There's always an opportunity in every crisis. For me, it's an opportunity because so far so good. Do you understand? I've had an opportunity to, speak at different media stations. Do you understand? Okay. I've had the opportunity, I have meetings on Zoom where I need to educate people and all that. You get, whether or not I'm cashing out, it's an opportunity for me to hear my message. So you look at it positively. Do you understand? Don't look for the negative, look for the positive. So when you review it, it helps you fare better. It makes you respond positively. So see it as a crisis coming to birth innovation in our nation, because now we're beginning to, we're going online now, we're beginning to adapt to the measures the developed nations are taking. See it as something that is actually going to bring the best out of you.
Please, can you hold your line of thoughts?
Okay.
Let's take this call from Tom. Tom calling from Solere. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I really enjoyed this show this morning, and I'm not here for much fun. But what I want to talk on, because when I walk in now, I switch out to your station and I watch the people from the north enjoying the money. Now, to my fellow Nigerians, first of all, let's take a look at other countries. I was arguing with one of my friends yesterday when they said they are giving people $1,200 in America. That country have a standard whereby they can give account of every citizen in the country. Can we give account of every citizen of this country? No. Even people about let them pay us through BBN. What about the people in Rome that who don't have account? What do you want to say? Now, the people who collect, some will not get it. You see, the only thing I will advise my fellow citizens is that during this period, a lot of things has been going on. Some family has broken up, believe it or not. Yes, because the man that knows that once I go outside, I will see 1,000 naira, use it to maintain my family. They will not know how I'm regulating it. And the family will be happy. She understand. You see, the thing is this. This is our country, Nigeria. We continue to pray and have hope for our country, Nigeria. And for other citizens just like you and I, truly now, we are all security. Everybody has security. Even the police, the citizens, everybody has security. We are all alert. And when we are blaming these guys, yes, during the time whereby they have something to do, they have maybe Okada or it's for security reason why the governor said they should stop it. But at least they have something taken home. Now, out of those people, we have miscreants among them who decided that I want to be taking money home. I don't want to be a miscreant anymore. But when there's nothing to do, what do you expect? Come outside. You think this is lockdown? Sir, you work in the media department. This is not lockdown. Come around. Come to Lagos Island. Come to Surulere.
Okay.
Everybody are walking up and down, believe it or not. Try to come outside and see. Do you know the reason why? Because they want to do their daily transaction. So the government needs to sit down and think, what can I do when situation like this come outside? Believe it, if this lockdown comes up again, no media will be outside recording people fighting life, stealing life, afternoon police with citizens. Now they call themselves civilian people. They will face each other because the politician has already brought gun out during the times of election. They will bring it out.
Thank you
So
very
I
much.
just pray that God Almighty should just help us in this.
God factor.
Thank you. Okay, we have
Okay,
Pascal
thank you
calling
very
back.
much, Tom.
Pascal is calling back from Ajegunle.
Okay, so Pascal, I think we can take it now. Oh, Pascal, please go ahead.
Morning.
Hello, Pascal.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I am Mr. Pascal calling from Ajegunle.
Welcome, Pascal.
Yeah, I love your program and
Thank you.
it's very, very inspiration. I want to speak very quickly. The people ruling this country should not. We are not fools in this country. I am very sad to see people take our healthcare in Nigeria. I want to all thought of why this country president to take over and be nice. The problem of the country is just I failed to promote God. Thank God, you cannot get it off. Because translation, you don't have to pray and over it. I don't want no man to take position in this country. I am happy leader in this country. But they don't see it. But I'm not sure that this country as long as God lives, do that with it.
Okay. Okay, so Pascal, that is now the part of the pain that we're discussing today. But I'd like to establish something. We will take more of those visuals that we have from the technical team. This is somebody, now let's use this as an example. Now, look at what he did here. He took it, then he zipped up. I don't know if you've seen this before now.
I've seen this.
Okay, so I guess I've not seen it. So you see that different stroke for different folks. But quickly, looking at the pain angle of it now, we just saw some people got money, handy, they are smiling. The social distancing was defeated there. They are in queue. Okay, so this footage is from someone in London. She actually used the Yoruba indigenous language to communicate that she woke up just to open her door. She saw this in front of the door from the government, and there is a note in it that if there is any item that you're used to eating for your health benefits that is not here, please call this number.
Wow.
Now, taking what Tom said, that is now the discrepancy. We don't have a working system yet.
Database.
But looking at emotional intelligence angle of it, how do you, what would be your recommendation as an expert in terms of how we should start taking our mind off what we can get, but make do with what we have?
And like I said, when you cannot change the circumstance, what you do is you change yourself. You adapt. We have an adaptive spirit, an adaptive immunity. We can adapt to anything. That's why even there are people who would come to this country from developed nation, they'll be like, I can't survive here. I can't. But there are people who actually here, and then this is normal for them. Do you understand? Although this is not supposed to be the standard, but people are adapting. So I think for the time being, we should adapt and hope that our governments, they're learning and they are taking, they're learning to take they're learning to take active measures, going forward. So let's just, all we can do is to hope and then take personal responsibility. Now for this footage you just showed, I mentioned something earlier to someone some time ago that we need to take personal responsibility. We cannot leave this thing to the government alone. If you have enough, this is not a time to think of making profits. This is a time to think of just surviving. Do you understand? An injury to one is an injury to all. For example, if you're not infected and then you're seeing the statistics that 2,000, 3,000, you're not yet infected, but it's going to affect you mentally. And over time, if you have more people affected in the society, of course, you are not left out. You can't get out of the country. So you can do, if everyone, there's a saying that if everyone sweeps his environment, the entire world will be clean. So let us ensure, let's try as much as possible to clean our environment. Let's feed, for every community, the ones who are privileged, who are wealthy, let them come together. Let's donate money together. Let's cater for those ones who are less privileged in our community, because if they are affected, it will still affect us. So that way, you see, the government will be relieved, because while we're complaining about the government, what are we doing? John F. Kennedy once said, do not think about what your government can do for you, but think about what you can do for the government.
Okay. So what could be the post-psychological effect of COVID-19 on humans if not properly handled?
Well, of course, people are already suffering. There's fear now ravaging the world, and fear intensifies pain. When you are in a state of fear, you can't even be treated, because there's really little or no chance that you recover from that circumstance. So I think the fear now is the major problem. People need to try as much as possible to calm themselves. Like I said, do not watch the news if you know you are someone who cannot take such information.
Okay, so T.I., but maybe to interject for want of time and more that I want to discuss. Now, you said calm. That calm is the word I want to bring on board with the footage on the screen. Now, this was less than 7 days ago.
Wow.
In the north. If you do the up sound, the guy recording he mentioned two things. That gives us the credibility to use it. He mentioned lockdown, he mentioned coronavirus. And this is in the north. Now we're talking about social distancing, and that happened. Are we saying that in that community, the local government chairman is not around, the police are not available, the place is so remote that people have to gather in that? We would like to see that footage again.
They're not responsible.
Okay, so look at the social distancing for Mr. President and the Vice. Look at what they did here, trying to communicate and see how they... But look at is it that information dissemination is... we said it before, he said they can do more. What exactly can you say about that footage, first of all?
Well, I think that information, that's part of it, and I think people are not, like I said, if everyone sweeps their compound or their environment, the entire world will be clean. Do you understand? You don't expect the president to come to the field now and tell them not to run to their houses. There are people actually been assigned, certain rules to take. This should not take place. This should not be happening. Of course, like you said, the local governments, these are people that they need to probe them. Why is this happening? Community leaders, families. You know that if your child is out there, then it stands the risk. There's a higher risk of getting infected.
Because that looks like a community football tournament.
If we all take personal responsibility, this would not be happening. So there's really no cooperation. I often tell people that even with God's intervention, you still need your own cooperation. Okay. So without your own cooperation, God's intervention can do nothing for you.
All right, so I think this is where we'll take a break and we'll continue this conversation. But coming back to the studio will be now to take your calls strictly. Let's get your thoughts. There is more from the side of the government. The Lagos State government came up with the second phase of the palliative. The first part of it during the first 14 days was to do 200,000 homes. We saw how it was handled. People complained it didn't get to them. Some got food that was bad, very, very bad, like it's deteriorating. Some streets got just a bag of grain, and we asked in the studio, was the bag of grain for them to plant in their community so that they can harvest and start eating, or was it for them to actually eat as a community? So this and more we're going to be talking about when we come back. We'll take a break just to get a glass of water, then we'll continue this conversation. Do join us again.
People of Lagos State, as the confirmed cases of COVID-19 continue to rise, we are at that stage where the increase is not due to people coming into the country. It is now community transmission. Stay at home. This is not the time to go out either for pleasure or business, as anybody around you may have it without showing symptoms. At this time, Lagosians should avoid all forms of physical contact. Stay at home. Coronavirus is not visible but deadly. Stay at home. Lagos State appeals to everyone to support the war against coronavirus so that we can save lives. The best way to curb the spread of this virus is to stay at home. Stay at home. Stay safe. Law enforcement agencies have been directed to arrest and prosecute anyone that contravenes this directive. Igbega Ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó, Àjùmọ̀ṣe, Lagos State Government. Announcer.
iReports gets even better with SuperScreen TV. Stand a chance of winning recharge cards for your efforts. Send videos and accompanying description to this WhatsApp line on 0811 1776 314. Viewers can send footages of newsworthy items, breaking news, and other events, and have it feature on SuperScreen television. Stand a chance of winning recharge cards for your efforts. Send videos and accompanying description to this WhatsApp line on 0811 1776 314. iReports gets even better with SuperScreen TV.
Out there, do you have an experience you want to share? Or you just have certain questions that needs to be answered? Maybe you're looking for a companion, someone to gist with, someone to talk and laugh with. Well, look no further. I'm here. Come, let's talk.
Hey, welcome back to the program U45 Morning Show. We have with us Mr. T.I., some call him the pain doctor, and he's been doing some dissecting of some of the instances around the emotional and psychological effect of COVID-19. But I'd like to establish the definition of emotional intelligence. Other school of thought calls it emotional quotient. Now, it says it is the ability to understand, use, manage your emotion in positive ways. Keyword there is positive ways. To relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, diffuse conflict. That's what it is. And Sandra, let's look at what the 5 Qs are.
Okay, so we have self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills.
Okay, so as a psychologist, looking at this definition, how would you relate it to the situation we find ourselves? Self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy. Maybe we'll take the first one, self-awareness.
Self-awareness is basically the conscious knowledge of your individuality, your thoughts, your character, your emotions, everything. It's all encompassing. Your purpose, it's very, very broad. There's a saying that you're not a drop in an ocean. You're not a drop in an ocean. You're an entire ocean in one drop. So for as long as you live, you definitely find out things. New things about yourself would unfold, you understand, unveil. So as regards this situation, for example, you need to be aware, know yourself. If, for example, I heard about someone who said she doesn't watch the news.
Okay, because we actually said we're giving it to the viewers.
Okay.
Good morning,
Hello,
Tope.
good morning.
Good morning, Tope.
Hello.
Good morning, Tope. We can hear you.
Tope speaking, calling from Mushi.
You're welcome, Tope.
By giving them money from north side alone, they have shared Nigeria. It's not good at all. They're supposed to give them rand. If they want to give money, they will give them rand. Not by giving them money from north, that those people in Lagos or Southwest that they have money to spend on their own. It's not good.
Okay.
That is.
Thank you very much. That's your contribution. Thank you, Tope.
Thank you. But I think we should get something clear. This distribution of the cash transfer, is it on the state level? Or
okay, so these are some of the things we need to find out. So, but like we got from that particular footage, she gave credit to the federal government. Anyways, thank you for contributing, Tope. Okay, so you were saying you have someone that says she doesn't watch the news.
Yes.
Chris, before we go on, okay, we missed the call.
Okay, please go ahead.
So that's an element of self-awareness. She knows that she can be susceptible to fear if she watches the news, and she's now controlling herself. Do you understand? So you need to know your strengths as well as your weaknesses.
That's self-awareness.
That's self-awareness.
Okay, for want of time, let's go to self-regulation.
Self-regulation is now managing yourself. Now they're telling us that we're going to be in lockdown.
Okay.
And some people are saying, I'm an extrovert. Now,
all right.
I can't sit at home. Do you understand? So this is the ability now to say, oh, though I'm not this kind of person, but I can grow, I can learn. So, you know, there's a saying that stop being who you've always been and give yourself a chance to grow. But this is a chance now to adapt. We have an adaptive spirit. We have an adaptive immunity. So you can adapt by staying at home because you know there's danger out there. So for you to control yourself, to be able to stay at home and not freak out, that's self-management.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Before we take the next one, we have something from, this is actually on the news a few weeks back, and it says COVID-19 corpses can be claimed for burial. And this is coming from the federal government. That is the Minister for Information and Culture. Now, but we know we lost the chief of staff to the Federation, and he was buried publicly, and people actually broke the rules of social distancing. how do we balance when we come? Because what you, part of emotional intelligence says the ability to communicate effectively. We said something,
let's follow
and we didn't follow it. In human nature, how do you look at it psychologically?
When you do not learn lessons from circumstances, they tend to repeat itself and can be really adverse, for you. And for this, for example, leadership demands that you live by example. You don't tell people what to do. You show them what to do. So when I saw this, I had a problem. I wasn't happy,
Okay.
However, it's one thing to even converge together and not observe the social distance. Another thing for it to be heard publicly. So if even this was done, they shouldn't have gotten to the public.
The media should not be present.
Should be present. So it's really a challenge, and I think our government they're not learning their lessons. Do you understand? Perhaps when some of them begin to also get affected, and perhaps when they do more burial, that's when you know that they need to begin to
okay, T.I. The reason for bringing that, I'm going to say it after we take Kayode from Ikeja.
Good morning,
my name is Kayode Olabode coming from Ikeja. Well, personally speaking, the federal government are not doing enough. For the past 5 years, they have been giving them certificates in the northern part of the country. And when the National Assembly came out there to give account, we were told that the document is that happened general. You know what happened in the few hours later, the Office of Accountant General got wrong. What I want to say, Lagos, Ogun, and Abuja has been made a lot. No participative for federal government. Federal government can actually give each household money. Let them stop sharing food. The thing that are heading up in the company of political stakeholder in favor of local government. I give kudos to Lagos State government for doing a lot. They are doing top of the situation. But then those people, the people at the grassroots, they are the mercenaries of the party. They work day and night to make sure that the party win elections and the failures to win. So if you give them every failure of without the right, it will be enough among the party loyalists, let alone the electorate. You need people are angry, like for instance, there's a place they used to share food yesterday, cook track for that matter. The old it was giving one disposable percentage of rice to electors. The whole street. So we were like, yes, what kind of insult did you do? We have to appeal to them.
Thank you.
So you understand? The government know how to share money if they want to share money. They can use national database to go to each house. Is there anything they want to give them? So they are giving you this. Manage it with everybody in the house. Let them choose. And now we have forget. For the record so far, we are having people. Coronavirus cannot see again. All we need to do is to take this often where our man are because we don't really establish the social distance of the thing. Look at the police on the road. Look at the market women. Look at the people even sharing the food. So our friend and Dangote is working. All the Dangote stars are working. You media.
Oh, okay. So, Kayode, I think that's the much we can take, but we got it clearly. Shoyemi calling from Sulere, please go ahead. Shoyemi, if you can hear us. Okay, I think we lost that one. The matters are endless.
There's just so much at this period of time, and people are naturally will freak out and complain and all that, like I said, but we just need to focus on the positives and what's the way forward. What are the things we can do to change?
I think Sandra is waiting for you to take the next one.
The way forward, I think it still boils down to the government, and then we as humans can also help to do our bit. That's to help our neighbors, help our friends, help the people that we can help. Because if you say people should stay at home, people should look at the positive, and people are hungry, there's nothing home for them. There is nothing for you to even say, okay, let me just be calm.
Which comes to the next one here, motivation.
So how can we be motivated during this time?
Self-motivation comes from within. It comes from knowing the fact that you have a vital role to play in managing yourself, in managing circumstances. Do you understand? It's no one falls at the top. You have to climb to get to the top. So that's where motivation comes, and you wouldn't feel motivated, for example, to maybe want to go out there to adapt. Like, for example, some people say, I'm not an online person, I can't do online business and all that. But when hunger strikes, that motivation comes.
Okay, so situations could push you to get things done. All right, please let's take it from there. Omotayo calling from Shomolu.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Omotayo.
All right, let me start by commending the Lagos State government for the duty they are doing.
Okay.
But I can really confirm to you that the efforts of government are being misplayed. For instance, from my own area now, whatever government has given is being misplaced or misused. Okay, a family of about 4 were given just 2 kind of rice for almost 21 days now. So the palliative is to go down. And I want to believe that the government should know how to distribute this palliative better than what they are doing right now. Now, for instance, let's take it for instance on this and this. Politically, when we speak in terms of politics now, this government knows how to reach everybody, campaigning to them, asking them to vote. Then we have the register. It's a voter register. Why can't this government show me make use of some of these things to possibly pass the palliative to people? If you continue to say this local government should be in charge of this, I'm sorry to say, the major problem we have in this country is now about politics.
Okay, so I think there's a jam call there, and Obina is taking over. Obina from Sulere, if you can hear us, please go ahead and make your contribution.
Hello, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, hello.
Good morning, Obina.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm calling from Sulere.
Welcome.
My name is... Why our governors not to say we do not know? And the one Nigeria to sit at home is unfair. One is COVID-19, which is COVID-19. 3 is SOFA-19. SOFA-19 is equal.
SOFA-19.
Those the sickness. Please, let our president government finish this at home so that people will fit to eat. Thank you.
Thank you. COVID-19, hunger-19, and SOFA-19.
This is another version of it, but quickly, I would like to establish that there are some measures that were not taken to. Yes, thank you very much for bringing this to the screen. Now, this is from Nisal Bank. Nisal Bank is under the auspices of Central Bank of Nigeria, and they are saying you can have access to 25 million naira targeted credit facility for this is for COVID-19. Now, it's written that the Central Bank of Nigeria introduces a stimulus package to support household and micro, small, and medium enterprises affected by COVID-19 pandemic. And if you enter that website, some people have been saying, no, it's a scam. No, we know that at this time, people are taking advantage. This next one is, I will explain that CBN quickly. This next one is the Nigerian Electricity Regulation Commission. NERC is saying, if you have power outage in your environment for more than 24 hours, call any of this number, we are going to fix it. Now, looking at communicating effectively, would you say that government has failed totally, or there are some things they are doing that we are not taking advantage of? From the CBN standpoint, a family can get 3 million naira and for 3 years, you pay back. How do you justify such measure?
I think, personally...
Looking at how it will psychologically affect the citizens now? That's what I'm looking at.
So affect such citizens in what?
Now, when I see something like that,
yes,
does it have a way of affecting my psyche to calm things down and see, okay, there is actually a leeway even in the middle of this trouble?
Of course. If you are aware that, if you know that the government is actually they're working in your best interests and they're doing things, of course you feel better, because even when it doesn't get to you, if you're someone who thinks the right way, you know, though it hasn't affected me or haven't been impacted, but other people, you know, can testify to the fact that yes, they've been their lives have been affected and all that, you would fare better, as opposed to feeling that the government doesn't care about you. Of course, that can worsen the situation, because your reaction would, you know, become negative at that point in time.
Okay, Chris, I would like to ask, the 3 million naira, is it for any household, or is it for them to venture into a business? Or
interesting. Now that is why sometimes we need to do more R&D as even the citizens. Now, that money is meant for a family. You don't have to be a business owner. No. A family. You could actually go through the process. We would like to say here that we've tried to engage the major stakeholders. We're trying to contact NISO Bank so that we can have a representative come in. An official letter has been sent as well. That's on one side. We'll look forward to that in the coming weeks. Secondly, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund is handling the conditional cash transfer courtesy the Lagos State government. And we wrote them yesterday. We were doing some back and forth to see how we can bring them to come and explain, because you have something available for the people, but the people are not informed that it's available. We got our caller saying the palliative that came to Shomolu did not work. It was mismanaged. Somebody from Ikeja said the political parties are the ones hijacking what government is giving. So we, on our part as media, were trying to bring those governments into the studio, whether by technology or via physical presence here, to tell you, because seriously, the situation is hitting us even as the media, because the questions we get are beyond what you see. But quickly to the fourth part of emotional intelligence, which is empathy. Let's quickly talk about how we can help ourselves for the humanitarian organizations, non-governmental organizations, churches. Yeah. What do you think they should be doing at this time?
Of course, they should. Like I said, it's a collective effort. Yeah. It's not just the government. If you leave it to the government, of course, that would be disastrous. So we should all, and I'm aware, like, there's some churches that are actually taking measures now, sending money to even their church members. You understand? We have community, we have associations helping their members. You understand? I have a platform, an alumni platform, a secondary school alumni.
Oh, the old boys.
Yes, wow. we reach out to those who are less privileged, and then so those who are actually doing well, they send money to them. Do you understand? So gradually, do you understand? This will alleviate the pain. And it takes empathy. It takes empathy, means being able to read emotions in someone else. So, for example, I can look at you and look at the fact that you're frowning, and I'm like, how you doing, Chris? What's happening? Have you eaten? And all that empathy, it helps you connect. And it gives you influence. You understand? So we should be with that. I mentioned the fact that we should, in every community, in every community, the ones who are privileged should come together, look at their neighbors, and this is something.
Sandra will take the last one. Okay, Michael from Ikoyi. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Michael.
Welcome, Michael.
Yeah, yes, I'm calling from Ikoyi. Okay, what I just want to say is, actually, I really appreciate the government, especially Lagos government, what they are doing. So they are really trying. I hope you are getting what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah, so what I want to say is, the money that they say they want to share, I don't know if they just segregate some set of people, or I don't know, because a lot of people are suffering. Look at, you can't imagine people that are using their daily work to feed themselves. And how do you want them to cope? And my main point is, what is the effectiveness of this lockdown? Every day we see increasing of the cases of COVID-19, people that are victims of it. So what is the effectiveness? What is the effect of this lockdown? I don't know what they are doing. So please, let the government just do something, and it's either they just forget about this lockdown, or I don't just know. And this issue of money they want to share, do they have some set of people that they want to give it to, or is everybody that is going to benefit? I can see the video that we show from abroad, government sharing food for the citizens. So I believe that Nigeria has this money. Look at the amount of money we have people donated for this COVID-19 issue. But we didn't see anything. Look at since first week when they started this lockdown, we heard that they want to share this, and nobody, we didn't see anything.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you very much, Michael. Okay, Michael, for want of time, that's why we have to. I'd like to say something quickly to Michael. Now, the donations from the private sector and the banks and the rest. So we've been following up on the matter. So there is actually it's private sector managed. So it's not in the coffers of government. So it's private sector, and the word there, or the what we got is that has been channeled to most of these stations, the test centers and the rest, the equipment. That's where that money is being channeled to. Government actually is using her resource to connect to the citizens by providing palliative. But however, I want to thank you very much for contributing into the program. Sandra, your last one, we were almost
I just wanted to be empathetic.
Okay,
that's to show my. Okay, have you eaten this morning?
No, I have not eaten.
Lunch is on me, Chris.
Oh, interesting. So it starts here. Interesting
okay,
fact.
So
but he didn't ask if T.I. has eaten.
He has eaten. He said he's watching his weight, remember?
Okay,
yeah,
not a problem.
He doesn't need more food.
On the lighter note,
okay, so can you just please throw a little light on social skills?
Social skills is a combination of all the previous 4 skills. Now, using all the knowledge, everything you know in managing situations, do you understand? For example, there was something he did, Michael, when he was calling.
Yes,
the first thing he said was to commend the government. Do you understand? If you were to meet Buhari one-on-one and have this conversation with him, would you say the government is bad and then you frown? And you wouldn't do that.
So you start by saying, Mr. President, well done.
You commend the effort he's
job.
done, and then suggest in a subtle way. But you guys, however, not even using the word "but" now, because "but" can always sound negative. However, I think we can still do more. You're on a good track, but you can still do more and all that. You know, so that's an emotional, intelligent person. Knowing that when you're giving feedback to someone, if, for example, after this show, someone says, oh, you didn't do this or you didn't do that, you're naturally going to become defensive.
Exactly.
And don't want to give excuses. But, oh, you did very well, I like your suit, and then recommend, or next time, do this, do that. You understand? That would message be passed across, properly. So I think in this, as regards COVID-19, we need to manage ourselves. And we also need to manage relationships. This should also tell us that, you see, you can't, no man is an island. No man is an island. We need ourselves to survive. People will be lending money at this time. People will be borrowing money at this time. Some people complain because they're isolated. They live in isolation. They do not have friends and all that. And this is the time where you need to belong to certain associations, communities and all that. Be supportive. Do you understand? Be someone who gives value, and it will be reciprocated to you at this point in time. Because if you're being valued, of course, no one will want you to suffer. All
right. So I'm going to do what we do very often. The camera is going to be watching. Just go ahead and speak to Nigerians across board. Some of them are watching us from other part of the world via our website, and they are seeing what is going on. So we're going to leave the screen for T.I., the pain doctor, for just 30 seconds for him to speak to you. Here we go.
All right. So I would like to employ Nigerians. You see, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. It's not your situation that actually makes you suffer. It's how you respond to it, positively or negatively. While we may all complain that, of course, this circumstance is not favoring us, this is a global crisis. It's not something peculiar to Nigerians. And as a matter of fact, we've not even recorded as much deaths as opposed to other nations. So let's focus on the positive angle and let's see how we can properly adjust. Rather than complain about the government, what are the things that we can put in place? What are those measures? And let's try as much as possible to pray. God can do more for us in a minute than we can possibly do for ourselves in a moment. And finally, the major factor that would enable you recover if the worst case scenario comes into play is your immune system. So it means you need to pray well, which will definitely at least build your spirituality. You need to feed well at this point in time. You also need to exercise. Don't just sit down at home and then relax. Your body needs to be very active. Do some exercise, because your immunity is what will enable you overcome this situation. But all in all, I'm sure, without a doubt, that this is just a phase that would pass. You don't judge the sky by the clouds that pass by, though. The sky is sky, and you know, circumstances would always drift away. So,
thank you very much for that. That's it. Sandra, what are you
Okay.
saying to our viewers?
So thanks for staying with us on the U45 Morning Show. And remember, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. I am Sandra Einaya.
And from my end, I'm going to say, let's get prepared. We don't know what the days ahead holds for us. Tomorrow, we're going to be looking at, should the lockdown continue? Because it's going to be a weekend edition, the Friday edition, of course. If it's going to continue, what is going to happen to us? How are we going to manage? So let's fasten our seatbelts, adhere to most of the things that have been established in the studio, the guidelines that have been given by government. Why we tend to see most of these complaints that have come in, how they start working towards it. The conversation is going to continue tomorrow. I want to thank you for those of you that called into the program and those that sent words that we can't read right now. Thank you very much. I remain Christopher Morris until we come your way again 8 a.m. tomorrow. Do be the best that you can. It's bye for now.